Greetings, Karen Clay here. Welcome to another installment. We're going to be doing a series of lessons about the sacrum to help you balance your sacrum. You're going to be working in this position where your carpeting is next to the wall. I'll show you what we're going to be doing. We'll either be about this far away from the wall, or we'll be with our legs up the wall. So that's how much space you'll need. So you could get that set up, and then when you're ready, you can unpause and come back. And the other thing that I wanted to show you for this segment is this set of 3 vertebrae. So here they are right here. There's the vertebral body, there's the disc, vertebral body, disc. Here's what the spine, you feel from the back. When you feel these sticky outy bones here, those are what we call the backbone. There's muscle tissue in here. And you'll notice that the shape of these segments is such that they're like shingles, that the one on top rests on the one below. And as we work rolling up and down our spine against the wall, this idea is going to come into play. So that's the image for you, the way those work like shingles to rest on top of each other. All right. So now the next thing we're going to do is go over to the wall. Before you do, just take a look at me. I'm going to want to have my feet at 90 degrees, my ankle joints at 90 degrees, my knees at 90 degrees, and my hips at 90 degrees. I'm going to turn this a little bit. There we go. A little down. All right. So you just kind of get yourself situated. And then notice as you lie here that if you completely let go, your feet would leave the wall. Yeah? So also might be a good idea for you to remove your socks so you've got a little bit more traction. I like to think about the image of those tree frogs that have suction cups on their fingertips. So your toes, the skin of your feet are kind of spreading into the wall, and you're not pushing with everything you've got. You're just using enough energy into the wall that you stay against the wall. So you're pressing into the wall as much as the wall is pressing into you. And you may notice that this immediately starts to activate the insides of your legs. This is a really brilliant way to start to identify and sense the core of the leg, the part of the leg that really gives us our deepest strength. And that part of the leg musculature actually goes directly in a fascial connection into the psoas. So the core of the leg to the core of the torso. So just resting here for several minutes at a time is going to do a lot for developing sensing, for proprioception, for your ability to sense yourself, awareness, and articulation, connection to the deepest part of your leg. So you may rest here for as long as you like at the end of the lesson. I'll just say that way. And now what we're going to do is I would like us to use the right foot and push the right foot a little bit. Actually, I'm going to do the left foot because it's closer to you. Press it just a little bit more into the floor. You're pressing the foot into the floor, so the side of the pelvis on that side, the left side, starts to move away from the floor. You can see that my left knee is going higher relative to the ceiling than my right knee as I push. And then please switch to pressing the right foot into the wall. That'll cause your pelvis to shift a little to the left and your knee to be higher relative to the ceiling. So do that several times on the right side, you may notice that there's quite a bit of difference between the right and the left, right? So it's a little bit like walking, one knee forward and down. Forward is relative to your own body. So in this case, forward means towards the ceiling, since you're now lying down, right? So notice how far that easily goes up your spine. Does the force get dissipated into the back of the pelvis? Or can you start to feel it kind of rise up the spine a little bit further? So continue with that. And what you're doing is on the side that's in the floor. So let's all push with our right foot. The right side of the pelvis leaves the floor. What you want to milk into is what the left side is doing, to really let the left side of the pelvis, the left half of the pelvis, rest in the floor. That means that we're separating the halves of the pelvis from the sacrum as we roll one side up and one side down. We're giving that side of the pelvis an opportunity to gap gently or span gently the space between the pelvis and the sacrum joint. The sacrum is the root of your spine. It's a triangular shaped bone with the apex at the tailbone, and the widest part is where it meets the lower back vertebra. All right, so then you would probably want to take a rest. You can, of course, take a rest anytime you want to take a rest. If you want to stretch your legs out, you can roll to your side, lie down on your back. You could rest on your side. You can simply rest with your feet on the floor. Whatever is comfortable for you. Make sure you take a long enough rest. And then when you're ready to come back, you can unpause your phone or whatever and get yourself positioned again in that we call this 90-90, 90-90. Now what happens if you push both feet at the same time and only do 1/10 of what you could? The most minimal, tiny little press. So you start to feel just the very, oh, you can't see, let's see, the very tail of your spine coming up slightly. So if I was showing you my tailbone is just doing this a little bit, ever so slightly. And you're going to repeat that many times, letting yourself go back to the beginning. And then you press a little bit, and then you go back to the beginning. Repeat that as many times as you're comfortable, 5 or 10 times, and then begin to roll up a little further. And so now we want to be thinking about those vertebrae that are resting on each other like shingles. And as you roll up and capture one more vertebra against the floor, and then roll back down, going all the way to the beginning, rolling up again and capturing one more vertebra. You want to think about petting those sticky outy bits, those pointed parts of the spine. They're called processes. You want to think about petting them in the downward direction so that they get tucked in towards the spine as you roll up further and further and further. Trying to capture one vertebra at a time. If you're confused, just do it inch by inch. It's fine if it's vague. There'll certainly be places where you definitely can feel bony contact and places that you may not. I'm going to pause right here and just say, do not do this if it hurts. Do not do more than you're comfortable with. If you've had enough, you can come back to the lesson another day and do up to this part again and see if you're ready to do more. If this position hurts your lower back, pay attention. This may not be the lesson for you, okay? So at this point, you could take a rest. You could roll like this and rest, or you could lengthen your legs out. You could get up and take a walk, whatever you feel like. When you're ready to come back, then you're going to just continue to roll up a little further and a little further and down ever so slowly, ever so slowly. Again, you're tucking those shingles down towards your tail, like tucking someone in to a bed, so that each time you roll up and each time you roll up, down, those shingle-like bits of bone get to belong more in the downward direction. And when you stand up from this lesson, you will probably notice that you're standing quite a bit taller. So you'll continue very slowly, adding one vertebra at a time, not going any further than is comfortable for your spine, for your hamstrings, for any other part. You're not going to gain anything if you work into discomfort. Absolutely nothing will be gained by that in this method. Once you get to about the lower part of your neck, you're not going to want to go any further because it's not a good thing to do to your neck. But you could go up as far as you're comfortable and then really slowly lower the vertebra bit by bit, just ever so slightly, rolling yourself down until you complete the cycle and rest on your back. One last time, starting with the very bottom of the tailbone, moving up the triangle-shaped bone called the sacrum to the lumbar spine, where you start to feel individual sticky outy bits, rolling back to the beginning and then gradually beginning to roll up further and further and further, and down again, rolling up to where you just rolled up, noticing your breath if you're holding your breath, because this is difficult for you. If it's a lot of effort, you know what? It's time to take a rest or come back to the lesson another day. Continuing up further and further and further till you roll all the way up your spine. Then please lower your feet away from the floor. And I'm going to ask you to roll to your side and find your way up to standing so that you can just sense your length and you can sense how tall you feel now relative to the beginning of the lesson. We'll stop here. We're going to add more next time. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to my channel.